here's Brody Brazil.
There's a lot of times where a prominent person shares their thoughts or opinions or insights, and we find that flat out interesting, just how they laid it out. But there's also occasions where it's the timing that matters most, and such is the case here for Tony Vitello. It's not just what he said, but it's when he's saying this that makes it even more fascinating. He was recently on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. I'll link to that YouTube video in full below, but they asked him about life in college sports during this NIL era, the name, image, and likeness era. And it's not just the fact that college athletes can now take on endorsements and sponsorships from companies. It's the fact that colleges can actually pay athletes directly, as if, they're basically professionals. And I know we kind of have to shake that long-standing notion out of our heads that these are amateur athletes and they're just kids. That really is not the case anymore. And it's also really confusing behind the scenes. Like Tony V was deep in college sports and recruiting and NIL deals and trying to make Tennessee the best baseball program he could. Now that he's out of it, he can speak freely on it. And what he said kind of makes an impact here. It's a disaster. That's a direct quote. Tony Vitello on the NCAA's NIL era. Now, he went on to elaborate on more of this, but the fact that straight away, and holding no punches, he's calling the NIL era a disaster, truly lets you know what it's like on the inside. He went on to say this, quote, "We all have thoughts where you kind of dream a little bigger. I have this weird fantasy or vision of, can college and MLB merge together a little bit and help each other? And it's almost like college sports doesn't really have the guardrails right now, or college sports doesn't really have a guiding light or somebody to help them through this process of transitioning between, an amateur situation and now a professional situation. I'm not sure that Major League Baseball or any of the professional sports leagues are your best assistance or form of assistance. More on that in just a second. But it is interesting as we navigate these initial years of the NIL era and how college programs and how NCAA in general don't really seem to have a total firm grasp on everything that's going on here. The one part MLB can't affect is where NCAA sports are, he said, in general. And it's just a mess. And so here's the baseball coach saying that, but certainly he's seen the insides of the football program and the basketball program and the softball program and the lacrosse program and the field hockey program and the swimming program. He's very much in the know of what's going on behind the scenes. And now, like I said, maybe this is something he wouldn't have talked as openly about if he were still head coach of baseball at Tennessee. Now that he's out of this, he can speak a lot more freely on it, and it gives us a better view on the inside. Quote, "It's like you're driving in the fog." He's talking about the unknowns of the NIL era and kind of how it's like the wild, wild west, and there are no really understood rules. Maybe there are set rules, but some of them are too complicated. There's too much gray area. It's like you're driving in the fog, he said, and you can't really see 100 to 200 feet in front of you. You're grasping for what's real, what you can do, what you can't do. Overall, it's very frustrating when you don't know the rules to the game. Some of that might be the newness of it. Some of it might be the fact that it's so complex and there are so many variables of what colleges can do, can't do, recruiting, transferring, merging deals. Maybe there are just too many elements here to try and make it simple, that it's so complicated it never actually can even be simple to digest. He goes on to say, quote, "That's the whole point of athletics or competition. Let's find out who can do it better. But when you really don't know the rules, or they're so lopsided in favor of Tennessee over Middle Tennessee State," so like he's going with the direct example there of where he coached and other colleges he competed against, Tennessee over Middle Tennessee State, it's kind of hard to have that nose-to-nose competition. Well, if we're talking about competitive imbalance, wait until you get into Major League Baseball. More on that in just a second. But I do understand what he's saying here. Some college programs have separated themselves so far from the rest. Maybe they don't have the same rules that apply to them, or there are like two totally separate feeling sets of rules for bigger colleges and ones that are maybe slower to the NIL era. Here are my takeaways on everything. This is an honest take from somebody who, like I said, is freshly removed and free to openly discuss. And we should be taking this seriously, because for every Tony Vitello who is able to talk about this, there's probably 100 other college head baseball coaches who can't talk about this, who don't want to talk about this, who will look weak or fragile if they open up about this, and that's not the image that they want to portray. The fact that they don't understand this, they don't like this, it's not a good situation. I think what Tony V is really referring to in all of this is ultimately competitive imbalance. His main gripe with the NIL era is not that college kids are getting paid. Maybe it's not that it's turning into a business of some certain degree. It's the fact that we are seeing separation from some athletes and some schools and others. And once we get this far away, we can never have real direct head-to-head competition. It's going to be, as he put it, lopsided. Well, wait until you get into Major League Baseball and you see how much the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Padres, the Mets, even the Blue Jays are spending, even in contrast to the San Francisco Giants, who are pretty middle of the road in their spending, not to mention teams like the Pirates, the Marlins, the Athletics. They're at the very bottom of the barrel. So it's almost like, at least in baseball, Major League Baseball, there are understood rules, but not everybody's even kind of following them to some degree, but I digress. Competitive imbalance is his gripe with college sports and this NIL era. That's what he's saying is a disaster. And it's not big or small schools. We understand there's going to be big programs and smaller programs, but if they're not on a level playing field with a common set of rules and understanding, I think that's where the frustration is. It's not that there's going to be not that there's not going to be a David and Goliath story. That is going to continue, but it's the fact that maybe there's not even the same rules for David and Goliath or David and Goliath as it stands here in 2025. I think involving Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA or even the NHL into college sports, like having them be the caretaker of college sports, I get what he's saying, and he also kind of alluded to in the interview that he could be the one to facilitate, get everybody on the same page. He didn't want to be involved with it necessarily, but he'd put all the right people in touch. I don't know if you want professional sports leagues taking over the leadership of college sports. Like, do you see a conflict of interest there? Right? This would make it even more of a pipeline. And look, college football is truly the minor leagues of the NFL. And I think you could say the same thing for baseball, although the minor leagues are the minor leagues, but where do minor league players all come from? Usually college baseball. And the NBA, they're going straight from college basketball straight to the NBA. It's really, hockey is the most segmented draft pipeline. Some are coming from junior programs, some are coming from college hockey. The NHL might be the most segmented, but I think when you have leagues take over college sports, like this could be a totally separate video. I think you're running into a huge conflict of interest, and I don't know that they would have the best interest of college athletics at their core if taking it over. And that's nothing personal against the leagues. I just don't know if they're built to be doing that or if that's the right situation. Here's probably the biggest and best thing I can say about all of this and what Tony V is against, and maybe what a lot of people see and dislike about this NIL era. We might have to give it some time. We're only 3 to 5 plus years. We're very much in the infancy stage of the NIL era. Will all of this settle? Will all of this gray area become clear? Will there be limits and caps? And will the buyouts of head college football coaches stop? Will all of this kind of settle down into something that's comprehensible? I know we had it one way, the old way, no money, no paying athletes, no endorsement deals, you're an amateur. There was a very hard, clear line set there for many decades. We're past that. We've blown right through that door. So I understand if we can't fully grasp where we're at now, but will that even be a possibility? Or are so many things changing? Is it so much of a headache that we cannot understand exactly what's going on and what's at stake right here, right now? Are we willing to give this another 5 years? Will things be better in 5 years relating to all of this? Or will it be more complex, more confusing? Or will something like all football programs detach from NCAA and do their own league, do their own NFL minor league? Because I do think that's a possibility too, like a football super conference, 50 schools, a lot of them from the SEC, and that will separate from and then college sports is completely upside down. The big money-making programs of football that kind of fund everything else, they're off separately doing their own thing. I don't know if that's in anybody's best interest, but here's the question. Do things settle down more, or do they get more volatile, and then we really don't know where they're going? So Tony V going out there making these statements, I don't know if he felt comfortable kind of stepping close to the ledge and making these comments, but he did. I'm glad he did. It opens up a window. It gives us a little bit more perspective. And finally, somebody's speaking out on this because, again, you're not going to hear really a lot of people in the college community speaking as openly in this because now he's got nothing to lose. He's not in college sports anymore. He's in Major League Baseball, and he can talk about this. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Helps me, this video, this channel. And don't forget, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you back here next time.